Jeremy Corbyn set the radical policies announced in Liverpool in the past few days within a long-running wider narrative that policies of the kind he and the shadow chancellor, John McDonnell, have long espoused have become the new normal. They argue that the grim economic legacy of the 2008 Great Crash and its aftermath has led to a widespread perception that the current system isn't working. And it's time to shake things up. People in this country know that the old way of running things isn't working anymore, he said. And unless we offer radical solutions, others will fill the gap with the politics of blame and division. That's why Labour speaks for the new majority. Corbyn's confidence is backed up by polling and focus groups that suggest ideas such as nationalisation, which until recently was anathema to most mainstream politicians, are now regarded by many voters as a pragmatic response to a system that isn't working. He argued that the radical policies set out in the past few days in Liverpool, including a drastic extension of workers' involvement at the top of companies, are the new centre ground. Conference, we are winning the public debate. We have defined the new common sense, and that's where our party can stand united, he told his party. Similarly, he referred to his and McDonnell's policies, once exiled on the lefty fringes of Labour, as the new political mainstream. HS2. Edging towards a position on Brexit, Labour has been walking an almost impossible tightrope in Liverpool, trying to satisfy the ardent demands of many grassroots members that their party do more to try to stop Brexit, without alienating Leave voters. Corbyn praised the shadow Brexit secretary, Keir Starmer, for negotiating his way through the morass by agreeing a consensus position. And he gave a nod to both camps, saying, all options are on the table, if May's deal falls, but if she shifted her own position, Labour could back her. Corbyn also reprised of some of his better recent PMQ's performances on Brexit, mocking the government's disarray. The main negotiations have taken place between the different factions of the Tory party, and the only job this government is fighting for is the Prime Minister's, he said. There was also a loud pantomime boo in the crowd at the mention of arch-Brexiter Jacob Rees-Mogg. HS Corbyn enjoys some close attention from Labour delegates. Photograph, Leon Neal, Getty Images 3. Drawing a line under anti-Semitism in Russia, the Labour leader sought to move on from the controversies that have dogged him over the spring and summer, in particular the anti-Semitism row that at times saw him personally criticized. Corbyn conceded that the summer anti-Semitism crisis had been tough, and had caused immense hurt and anxiety in the Jewish community and great dismay in the Labour Party. Corbyn said that, the Jewish people have suffered a long and terrible history of persecution and genocide, and committed himself and the party to work with Jewish communities to eradicate anti-Semitism, both from our party and wider society. And with your help I will fight for that with every breath I possess. There was no personal apology from the party leader, as had been demanded by some in the Jewish community, for his own personal conduct, such as when he criticized a group of British Zionists for not displaying a sense of English irony. But he said he hoped his clear statement of principle would now draw a line under the issue, and added, anti-racism is integral to our very being. It's part of who you all are, and it's part of who I am. Corbyn took aim at the Conservatives on the issue of race, arguing that the party was guilty of double standards when it tried to criticize Labour on the issue. He also sought to deflect criticism of his initial questioning over whether the Novichok poisonings in Salisbury were the work of the Russian state. The leader told Conference that he now accepted they were, and praised the efforts of investigators. DS4. Promises for young and old, but at what cost? Jeremy Corbyn pledged to maintain the triple lock on the state pension, the winter fuel allowance and the free pensioner bus pass as a way to say thank you to an older generation that helped build Britain. The triple lock is a costly measure that the Tories have pledged to retain until the end of the current Parliament in 2022. It means the government will raise the basic state pension by average earnings, inflation or 2.5%, whichever is higher, in each of the next 4 years. How much more it will cost the Exchequer in subsequent years will depend on inflation. If prices streak ahead of wages, which they have done in most years since the financial crash, it becomes a bigger cost for the Treasury without the compensation of higher tax receipts. At a cost of around £70 billion each year, the state pension is the single biggest element of the welfare budget. A report last year calculated that the Treasury paid £2.9 billion more in 2014-15 than if the state pension had tracked workers' average earnings since 2010, when the triple lock first took effect. Labour has also pledged to cover the childcare costs of all 2-, 3- and 4-year-olds for up to 30 hours a week. The subsidy will be available to all income groups, in contrast to the current means-tested scheme. It is an expensive plan that many experts believe will add considerably to the Exchequer's burden at a time when most public services are crying out for extra money. The Shadow Education Secretary, Angela Rayner, has estimated that the extra annual running cost will be £5.3 billion with capital costs of £2.7 billion. Pi 5. Green policies. By putting renewable energy and efficiency at the heart of Labour's offer, committing to ambitious emissions targets and clearly stating that climate change represents the biggest threat to humanity, Corbyn showed a possible pathway to a sustainable, low-carbon future. As always, the devil will be in the detail. But the plans, which include a rollout of green technologies, including 13,500 onshore and offshore wind turbines, solar panels on thousands of roofs and wide-scale home insulation, have been given a warm welcome by green groups. The commitment that 60% of the UK's heat and electricity will come from low-carbon or renewable sources by 2030 and reduce greenhouse gas emissions to zero by the middle of the century are utterly necessary. Crucially, Corbyn took these issues out of the environmental silo and put them at the heart of the party's economic offer. And it may prove a smart electoral move. A big environmental push has the potential to unite two constituencies of Labour's coalition that have been deeply divided over Brexit. For the towns and communities that have borne the brunt of deindustrialisation and insecure work, Corbyn's green pitch offers the promise of hundreds of thousands of sustainable, high-skilled jobs. For Labour's urban, liberal, middle-class supporters, it is a recognition that the environment is the key issue of our time. There were omissions. Details on how these jobs will be created need to be fleshed out, and there are structural forces wedded to the high-carbon economy that will be resistant to change. But Corbyn appears to have listened to the overwhelming evidence on the environmental challenges facing the world, and his speech opened up new political ground. The task now will be converting words into meaningful and urgent change. Sorry, your browser does not support audio, but you can download here and listen. https://flex.acast.com/audio.gim.co.uk/2018/09/26-51111-gdn.pol.180926.podcast.mp3